so narrowly winning, narrowly losing. They came so close to winning this match. Both games, they started out incredibly fast, a lot of gold, a great advantage for them, but it looked like both games were identical. There's a couple of mid-game fights getting completely turned around. Alex Ish played the carry role ultimately, even in both cases, even on something like Zillion, which you don't consider normally a carry. He was doing all the poke damage, revived his teammates, kept the kills from going on. A beautiful job. Let's actually see a replay of just how dominant he was. It's been a great game so far from Moscow 5. As things open up, you can see just that dive at the bottom half, so much damage dealt to PDD. Shen did come in, but as you called it, Riv, he kind of baited himself into his own death. The Zhonya's Hourglass not even mattering. This is just M5 having beautiful execution there. Sona saving the crescendo, knowing they didn't need it for those first few kills. Really locked up Kid and Zatai picking up those last few kills. And another great point for them, they left the support alone. They did not need to kill Alistair. They let him sit down at the turret and just, cry by himself and just pick up that last kill at the very end. M5, that teamfight execution is just so strong from them. They are amazing.
Freak, it was an amazing matchup by Moscow 5, and not just because of their roam. It was the timing of their roam. Every time they met a turret, there was a full minion wave there. And I mentioned this in the middle when they took out that first middle turret of the game, is that does not give the 15, 20 seconds for the team to get to that position. They don't have their wave clearing champions there. And they did that perfectly every time. And being able to roam like that gives you an advantage every few minutes in the game. They were able to take a ton of dragons. Diamond Prox was coming out huge on those throughout the entire 2 games for them, and they just controlled the game in their way. The fight started getting dictated by both teams. Actually, towards that 20-minute mark in the game, we saw such low minion scores through both teams because it was just all out punching each other in the face. But Moscow 5, obviously, with the better blows, they were able to take down Invictus Gaming. We're going to head over to Rachel on the stage. We're going to get an interview with the winners.
Thank you so much, Rivington. That was an incredible match. How does it feel to kick their butts?
It is an awesome feeling. It's like the first match of the day, so we were able to break Asian dominance, and we're really happy about that.
So you guys made some interesting choices in champion picks. What was the strategy behind that? Was that tailored specifically to Invictus Gaming, or is that just something you've been working on?
We just pick broken heroes.
What excited you the most about playing against Invictus Gaming?
I was really excited by the AD carry in the first game. When I was fighting him, he wasn't just randomly running. He was always like flashing in his team when I was like coming from behind. And I was really impressed because when I play against most of the teams, they just start randomly running around because they are afraid. And he was like not really nervous and knew what to do.
They GG'd against you twice. They surrendered. What does that feel like?
I think that is that is Asian tradition. They show respect to the team, and if they know that they lose, they don't expect some comebacks and the mistakes from the enemy. They know that they lost, so they just surrender.
Up next, you will face either TPA Assassins or NaJin Sword. Who would you rather face?
I think that we will face Magnon.
Are you prepared for that?
We'll see.
We shall see. I'm going to send it back over to the desk for some final thoughts from Rivington Freak and DJ Wheat. Thank you so much, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, an awesome conclusion to the first matchup of the day, but now we're joined by our very own DJ Wheat here in the booth. So let's talk a little bit about Moscow 5 Ben Q. So many people said here nor there, maybe they can do it. A lot of people don't think they can do it because it's international and they've never come out of that bubble as you described it earlier. But yeah, they showed it.
Yeah, I mean, historically, think about it. I mean, in the history of esports, like how many times have we had a team who's been really dominant in their region, and then they've just come on a grand global stage and continued their dominance? I mean, it's hard to just say on paper, we've seen this team do great,
right,
we know they can do well, but when you've got these Korean, these Chinese teams, like, it's really quite mind-blowing to see them perform that well, and they're kind of just taking their legacy that they've shown in their region, online, and they're just looks like they want to take it all the way home for the World Championship.
Yeah, and it looks scary for them, too. You saw both those games open up with Invictus making all the right moves, and it's like, okay, M5 BenQ coming in as a favorite. Okay, Invictus second place in the group. Okay, they're still good. It's like, dude, they're losing. Like, M5 is like losing straight up, and IG has better late game in this. Oh, mid-game team fight, right? Like, they just kind of buckled down in those games and was like, guys, come on. We're M5 BenQ. Of course we're going to win. And they really just kind of laid it down. Like, once it hit like 20 minutes, you just like saw a completely different team, and they like started wiping the floor with their opponents.
I mean, the team fight's obviously really, really big in both of those games. You both mentioned that there were some close, could have gone either way situations.
Oh,
so, let me ask you guys this. What do you feel M5 has that some of the other foreign teams don't currently have that are able to make them look dominant versus these foreign teams?
It's just like it's just a mix of, I think, a lot of individual talent, and a lot of these teams, of course, have this, but I think they've been together for the longest, ultimately. Invictus just got 3 new members of their roster very, very recently. Maknoon just built his team together, NaJin Sword. I think TPA Assassins actually is like the one foreign team here that's actually had a stable roster for a long time. So, honestly, if we go by that call, and I mean, that's what we saw, right? Like, we saw the mid-game fights turn around based on Moscow 5's team fighting. That's really what it was, is their ability to team fight and play as a group. I only see a couple more teams here who have that same level of cohesion. It's Counterlogic Gaming Europe, who's been together for a year, and they beat them at DreamHack. We see NaJin Sword actually completely being built together in about 4 months. TPA Assassins, finally, that's another team that's finally been together for a long time. Those are their biggest competitors on a team fight front.
Rutan, in regards to Moscow 5 and IG, Moscow 5 again being the quote unquote, let's just use the term, unproven on a global stage.
Right.
Do you think after a win like that, that gives you the motivation to just kind of take it? Maybe you are unsure about how you're going to be able to perform, but then boom, you come out. Obviously, the fireworks happen.
Right.
And what do you think that means for the motivation, like going forward?
For Moscow 5 BenQ, this is huge. They really didn't come in with a super duper innovative strat. They saw that the team was doing, and they said, we can still play our staple strategy of a semi-roam, be very aggressive, deny buffs as much as possible, as you saw Diamond Prox doing in the early game, and they came out on top, with flying colors. It really wasn't a challenge for them. They figured out that it was have to be mid-game every time. They kind of played that lackadaisical early game, but it just came out huge. They chose their champions. They executed at the right time, and really without having to pull out anything new, they could still have a trick up their sleeve for that finals.
Well, yeah. Both teams did absolutely phenomenal,
yeah.
And congratulations to M5. Thank you for moving on.
Yeah, they played really awesome. So now coming up next, guys, the TPA Assassins face off in a best-of-3 all-or-nothing showdown with NaJin Sword. We'll be back in a minute. Don't go anywhere.
TPA. The gaming house is amazing. We wake up at around 9 to 9:30 every day. We stop practicing until we sleep.
What's that? Welcome.
Hello, welcome back to day 2 of the World Playoffs. I'm DJ Wheat alongside Rachel, and we're bringing you all the action live from sunny Los Angeles here at LA Live.
Next up, we have a matchup between two Asian powerhouses, NaJin Sword and the Taipei Assassins.
That's right. This will be the first time that we'll see the Taipei Assassins, winners of the Garena Premier League and one of the most successful in their region. Now, they recently dominated the GPL, going 30-2, a pretty crazy record. However, they're pretty untested outside of Asia, and that makes for a really exciting matchup.
Taipei will be going up against NaJin Sword, who are on a hot streak lately, having won the Korean qualifiers by taking out top Korean teams and going a convincing 3-0 in Group B. Let's meet the teams and get this match started.
I like it. Are you guys ready? Starting as the blue team, a dominant force in the Garena Premier League. Please welcome to the stage the Taipei Assassins! At AD carry, it's BB!
Playing support, it's Mistake.
At AP carry, give it up for Toys!
In the jungle, it's Lil Balls.
And last but not least, in the top lane, it's Stanley.
And now, starting as the red team, they easily dominated their group stage. From South Korea, it's NaJin Sword!
In the jungle, for NaJin Sword, it's Watch!
At AP carry, it's Song.
And at top, give it up for Noon!
As support, please welcome Kane.
And to round out the Sword, give it up for the AD carry, it's Prey! Let's put your hands together one more time for NaJin Sword!
All right, guys, it's time to get this game underway. Let's send it over to Jat and D-Man to break down the matchup.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here, League of Legends Season 2. It is the quarterfinal stages and Taipei Assassins versus NaJin Sword. I am Lee D-Man Smith, and this is joining me, Jat. Wow, what a game we've had to start the day off. Moscow 5 versus IG. That was crazy. Can we match that aggression?
In all honesty, we saw how strong NaJin Sword was yesterday in the group stage. I know Mac Noon surprised pretty much anyone who hadn't seen him before with how amazing he was playing. But then we talked to some COGEU guys who've played against both these teams, and they said, Stanley, he's a really amazing Jace, he's a really amazing Nidalee. If I had to pick the 2 top laners in the world, it would be Stanley and Mac Noon. So really, we could see an amazing matchup in that top lane between those 2.
And the bans are going to be interesting because both these players play the exact same sort of champions, and they are the best at it. And also, we've got another mix of it. I mean, across the whole board, they are all stars across, you know, I guess you could say NA solo, but that's where they all began.
There's a reason the Taipei Assassins are where they are right now. They got the bye. Before they were playing in Taiwan, they were all just superstars in the NA servers. I know Lil Balls was a player who used to play with Big Fat OP. He was on
the original COG,
but he couldn't play in the first WCG because he was from Taiwan. He's moved back there. He was actually the first player to tell me how to jungle on Neuter. I asked him what path he did because he destroyed me in a game. He's like, back in the old jungle, it was 3 small camps, then you went and did a full clear, and you were level 5 by the time the bottom lane was level 3. What I'm just trying to get at is he's been around for a while, and he's an innovator. So
he knows
he's
his
really
stuff.
strong.
And this is really the biggest stage he's probably been on. We saw the Garana Premier League, the stage they had for the regions there. That was pretty huge. In fact, it's safe to say there was a lot of people there. So these guys are both well versed in this. They are effectively one of the best Asian teams here. I mean, certainly the best Asian team in the Garana Premier League. They are absolutely dominating that. We just saw the record 32 currently. That is huge. I mean, the only people they've lost to, I think, is the Singapore Sentinels, and that's only just like losing the odd game or 2.
And it's going to be really interesting because their region was almost so cut off from the rest of League of Legends, and they absolutely dominated it. But at the same time, you can only kind of be as good as the people you're playing against.
Yeah.
And you can only get so far above the rest of them. So it's going to be so interesting to see them playing up against NaJin Sword, who's played against, from what we've seen, the best competition in the world in a lot of ways, versus Taipei Assassins, who have absolutely dominated pretty much since their team's inception. And it's just, there's so much back and forth matchup that I think we could see in these teams.
There is indeed. So we've already seen Moscow 5 turn up, and they are delivering. Let's have a quick talk about that one, because honestly, I wasn't sure what shape Moscow 5 would have been in. If you just missed it, guys, then you missed an absolute classic games. Both games completely back and forward. Everybody in the crowd thought, you know, everybody that's here that's involved in League of Legends were like, yeah, we're going to have a Game 3. Even some of the players were like, yeah, Game 3 is on. And then we saw that big throw from IG. You know, these players would have been watching that game. They would have been, you know, the pressure would have been on. They would have been backstage setting up. We've just seen them spin around on the stage. They are behind the scenes setting up. And, you know, they're going to feel that, think, damn, they were so far ahead and they threw against Moscow 5. Their potential opposition for these 2 teams.
And Moscow 5, it seems like they're coming into this tournament much the same way they came into Hanover or even Kiev, where we saw Alex in that interview say, we just play the broken heroes. But at the same time, they had vastly different picks than a lot of the teams here, so they innovate their own strategy, right? We have seen Support Sour from a few teams. We have seen AP Evelyn from a few teams. I don't think we've seen Xin Zhao top and competitive yet, but they were all really strong, and they showed it. I mean, obviously there was mechanical skill when they won those team fights, but a lot of it just came down to their crafty team compositions and knowing exactly how to play. Their team fighting is top-notch, and their picks are a little bit unconventional as in the broader scheme of things, so teams just, even though they may have studied Moscow 5, they've innovated once again because those were 3 picks that I've never seen them play together in a tournament with the Support Zyra, the solo mid Eve, and the top Xin Zhao.
And obviously we saw Taipei Assassins. We know what they're coming into this one with, but NaJin Sword, we saw them yesterday. They 3-0'd the group. And, you know, I hate to harp on about the Korean teams, but honestly, both of them came into this tournament and they've both 3-0'd their individual groups, absolutely knocking everyone aside. 2 American teams already knocked out of it. You know, the North American team was, everybody used to say it was quite strong, but honestly, NaJin Sword just swept everyone aside yesterday.
And it was a lot on the tail of Mac Noon, but really, so much of it was just about how fast they team fight and how good their reaction times are. And if I want to see anyone match their reaction times, it actually might be the Taipei Assassins, because these guys are all still playing a lot on the NA servers with 100 to 200 ping, and they're just destroying a lot of these people. So when they're on this low ping environment here in Los Angeles, where it's got to be 10 or 15 with how close we are to the actual servers, their reaction times are just legendary. I've seen some clips, actually, of Lil Balls waiting in a brush where they don't even have vision of Malphite, and Malphite would ult in, and about halfway through, he just flashes away.
During
and
it
was,
yeah.
He had maybe a quarter second to hit that key and to get it to register. So just across the board, that's kind of how Taipei Assassins are. And NaJin Sword, along with the rest of the Korean teams, are just known for their mechanical skill and how good they team fight and how well they execute their champions. So we could see some of the crispest play ever in this matchup.
Well, let's hope so. Luckily enough for us, we had a chance to sit down with the teams earlier on. Let's see what they had to say about their upcoming opponents.
们后天会打对上NaJin Show，然后我非常紧张。 일단 TPA는 이제 대만에서 가장 강한 팀으로 알려져 있고
一半一半，一半兴奋，然后一半紧张。毕竟没有遇过这样的对手，没有交手过，然后他们又是实力很坚强的队。
他们很强，然后我很希望我们可以对上他们。然后在抽签之前，我们就很希望抽到他们。
이제 앞으로 있을 대회에서도 그냥 저는 이길 거라는 이런 생각 없이 그냥 서로 믿으려고.
我会做到我最好来打败他们。
我们有信心能够100%获胜。
100% confident of winning. That is the sort of attitude these teams need. And while Taipei Assassins, they say they're 100% accurate, let's see what they've got to do. What are their keys to the game, Jap?
So very first off the bat, we need to know what TPA wants to do. They have to control the Sona pick. We saw yesterday NaJin Sword. Every time they got Sona, those crescendos were turn around pretty much every team fight. I know Mistake also plays a lot of Sona for TPA. If they just control that pick, it's odd we have a champion select key, but it is so key because such a big impact inside these games.
We saw it in
and
the
they
group
have to pick it or
stages.
ban.
I mean, Kane was absolutely destroying with it. We just seen Gosu Pepper with it in the last game, and there, some of those crescendos, if they land at the right time, they can be devastating on attack or defense.
And the next key, they have to own the top lane because at least from the two Korean teams we've seen, Azubu Frost and NaJin Sword, MacNoon and Shy have destroyed the top lane. They have absolutely obliterated their opponents. And so much of this tournament has been about the control up there. Stanley, MacNoon, two of the best top laners in the world, going to be going head-to-head up there. It's about how they do it, and it's about how their teams manage to support them is going to be so key if TPA wants to win this game.
Absolutely, and of course they've got to counter the aggression. We saw how crazy that aggression is from NaJin Sword yesterday. MacNoon will often dive in, not always working out against two Nexus turrets, but he often makes it count.
And I think the best way Taipei Assassins can counter Sword's aggression is to just hit them back just as hard. They are not, as far as I know, a very passive team. TPA loves to go, especially their mid laner Toys, is all about roaming. He will shove, roam. He's not a Froggen or Scar who likes to just sit there and create pressure for his lane. He likes to take his map presence elsewhere. So they can counter Sword's aggression by being more aggressive themselves.
So that's what they've got to do. Let's see what NaJin Sword have got to do. How are they going to counter Taipei Assassins?
They just have to maintain their momentum from the group stage first and foremost, and even going back farther than that, their momentum from the third place game in the OGN Season 2, their Korean regionals where they cruised through all the top composition from the bottom of the bracket, and that's all been with the coordinated dives from what they've done. They just work so well as a team together. They flash initiate, they all go in, and the fight's over often before it even seems to start, and definitely before the other team is ready for it.
Yeah, and finally they've got to watch out for little balls.
Hey, we were talking earlier about little balls teaching the jungle Udyr to the masses. Jungle Alistair and Jungle Maokai are his two most favorite junglers right now, and those early ganks are so key. NaJin Sword loves to be aggressive early, but if he's there to shut them down, it could be disastrous, so they just have to watch out for that guy in the jungle.
And I think everybody has seen the Alistair play that he had, obviously in that defensiveness where I think he took down, was it 4v1 around the base, the Nexus turret? I think everybody's seen that YouTube clip by now.
That was actually against the Singapore Sentinels, I believe, in the Garena Pro League, which they so much dominated. And he was just headbutting, pulverizing, CCing, using his ultimate just properly around the double turrets. And it's really just his micro on these champions, just micromanagement, how well he controls his champion. I think that goes for almost everyone on TPA is top notch. And if you haven't seen the clip, just look up Low Ball's Alistair save, and you'll see a pretty amazing play.
You'll see some pretty amazing play. Well, we can talk about what we think the bans are going to be. Alistair's probably going to be one in there. We talked about Sona. We think Sona's going to get banned in this one as well.
I thought that Sona was going to get banned coming into this tournament much more frequently, and we haven't seen
First
it yet.
game against Moscow 5 was banned.
And we've also seen the Eve ban against NaJin, and when that's gotten through to Alex, even though it wasn't him, it was disastrous for IG. So I think we could see an Evelyn ban, unless they plan on picking it away from them, but I'm most likely sure that's going to be banned. The Sona and Ezreal are either going to be banned or picked very early on, because both of these teams might think that the other team's not putting as much priority on it, and they want it themselves. So they might end up going that direction.
And let's look at those two top lanes. We've obviously got MacNoon versus Stanley. What could we go with? We are going to get into the picks and bans, so we'll be able to see what they are. And the very first ban is Evelyn, as expected.
So that's quick and no surprise. And here, with the NaJin Sword versus TPA, we know both of their favorite champions are Jace and Nidalee. And the interesting thing about that, is Nidalee is one of the few things that can lane against Jace and potentially beat it. So we could very well see them just trade both of those battles and pick it against each other if they don't decide to ban it and go with it themselves. I know that Stanley had also played a lot of Vladimir in the past. It's banned out. Dyrus played against Stanley, and he actually taught him how to build it.
There
because
it is.
Stanley would go double Doran Shield and cooldown boots and just win the lane on Vladimir, who's normally defensive. Once again, Stanley just being an innovator in top lane, and these are the bans that were somewhat expected.
And finally, somebody bans out Sona against Kane.
It's
They're
about
not
time.
letting Kane have it. It's about time. Throughout those group stages, we're like, when will these teams actually listen to what we are saying? We do can't time to get a good view of what's happening. And Stanley, immediately they let Jace open, and Stanley says, you know what? I am taking Jace, which means I reckon McNoon's going to pull out Nidalee.
It could very well be that, and they're getting the Ezreal because that has been banned, and they're taking it very early on. I do agree with you that McNoon will probably play Nidalee, but he's McNoon. He's surprised everyone coming into this. He did play a very mean Shen in the previous game as well. That is still open, and he can survive against a Jace early. But here we go. Watch going into Skarner. These are picks that we've seen throughout the tournament. NaJin Sword, I don't know if they've played this exact setup quite yet, but back and forth, these are just power picks by both.
We saw the interview from Watch. He may have read it online. As Watch said, he wants to prove to the world his Skarner play.
Yeah.
And it is something he's going to try and do here. Oriana getting locked straight in by Toys there. That's going to be a crazy mid lane. We have seen Oriana banned out quite a few times before. Ocelot never got a chance to play Oriana, so we could see some crazy stuff in that mid lane. What will go alongside it? What will
So
the
they have
Bulls choose?
Alistar available.
Alistar is available, I was about to say, but Nunu looks like may well be picked up. Alistar's still left out there.
So that Nunu can be a support or a jungler, and they leave the option open when they pick it this early. So it would be a good jungle pick, or even in general just against Skarner. Skarner's so much about running up to you. He doesn't even necessarily have blinks to land his ult pull back into you. He just relies on his speed. But that snowball is going to be able to stop him from doing that if he's trying to get to priority targets. So the Nunu's a pretty good counter against that specific matchup.
So are we going to see what Song's going to pick, or will we see a counter? They know it's going to be against Oriana in that mid lane.
I really want to see what McNoon decides to go up against Stanley with, because his favorite is Jace, and they took it away from him right now.
Ooh, could be an Aurelia on the top lane. Trying to think of the matchup we saw when we were at EU Regionals.
We've seen a
When
couple.
Soaz, I think it was against Shen, and it backfired horribly, so I wouldn't expect Shen to come out in this one. And obviously McNoon has said, and there it is, Aurelia locked in, and it's going to be Tarek support alongside that Ezreal, which means last pick for NaJin Sword will be the AP. Could see a Tristana coming out. Tristana didn't work out too well for Yellow Pete. It's insta-locked in though. It is going to be Bibi on Kog'Maw. And the final pick could well be Mundo in the jungle. It is, and that's going to mean it's going to be a support Nunu. Kog'Maw bottom lane. That's something we saw a long time ago. And honestly, it's amazing. It's finally taken all this time to make a revenge.
Cyclical
and
almost.
Nunu is one of those champions that the Korean teams never really rate.
They don't respect him in many ways, and some of this also has to be you don't think things are good if you constantly beat them, because Sona's a really good matchup against Nunu. Sona can outpoke him and just kind of shut him down. But with Sona banned, that enables Nunu to be better against some of those poke-heavy matchups, or even all-in matchups, because if a Tarek stuns, the Nunu attack speed slow onto Ezreal is going to be quite impactful if they go in for those trades. The TPA team comp is actually really, really interesting. It looks like they picked away a lot of what NaJin Sword wants to do, and we've seen the Aurelia versus Jace matchup a couple times already in this tournament, which is going to be Stanley up against McNoon most likely. And it's kind of went both ways. When Wicked was on Aurelia, he was able to shut down Jace, but when McNoon was on Jace, he was able to destroy Aurelia. So now we're going to see.
We'll see whether he manages. If anyone knows how to counter it, it's going to be McNoon, you'd assume. And obviously he's probably, well, I wonder how many games he's played against Stanley, whether he's ever practiced in the past. I'm not too sure the history between these two teams, how much they've actually played each other. I don't think they've crossed paths too many times.
And the Taipei Assassins have actually been very careful to not allow people to see them. When they do scrims with other teams, they will never allow it to go into their match history. They will always quit out before the game is over and make sure the other team does too, so it's like the game never existed. So people can't necessarily scout them very well.
Yeah, so let's just have a look at the team comps. How do you think this is actually going to level out?
I think overall, so much of this is actually going to focus off of mid lane. It's strange that Toys is on Oriana, because she's not your prototypical roamer, try to affect other lanes champion. She's very much about farming and then going into the teamfight phase, which isn't Toys' typical style that I know of. They have been practicing a lot in the dark. Maybe they've tried to adapt this a little bit. Overall, though, we still have to go back to our key. It's that top lane, Stanley versus McNoon. Once they come down and join the game, it's going to decide so much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the game is about to get underway. Let's have a hear it, though. Taipei Assassins coming into this one. This will be their first game of the Season 2 League Regionals. Do you want them to take it? Give them a shout.
And NaJin Sword, you saw them go 3-0 last game in the group stage. Do you want to see them continue their momentum and take it into the semifinals? We're straight into the game already. Here we go.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, if you have just joined us, I know a lot of you guys do tend to tune in just as things get underway. Taipei Assassins starting as the blue side, game 1 of the day for them, and NaJin Sword in the red. And it's looking like we're going to see some crazy level 1 fighting. We haven't seen quite a bit of it throughout the day. Not much today, but yesterday there was all sorts going on. And it's something that the teams do talk about. They can't give it up, and immediately McNoon getting caught out there by the Jace of Stanley. Looks like they're going to back off. Wraiths are open. There was no ward placed there, but immediately Taipei Assassins have pinged there. NaJin Sword just walks straight into that position. They're going to place a ward over at the Wraiths, I feel. It's going to be Lil Ball's going to go straight in there. Mistake will put that ward down. There we go. Right on top of the Wraiths. They want full vision of what's happening on the Wraiths. And immediately you can see also down the bottom lane, Wraith's ward has been placed in the bush, actually. Very forward placing from NaJin Sword.
They're really just trying to get a tick on the early junglers. TPA having more early wards than NaJin Sword. They're both warding those Wraith brushes, and they can see exactly where Lil Balls is starting, and maybe they'll try and invade here, because I don't think TPA has knowledge that that ward is there, so they could get caught out by surprise a little here if they don't scout them while they run through.
Yeah, NaJin Sword getting themselves in that position. We saw this the other day, IG versus Azubu Frost, exact same
Really
position, and someone got caught out. Lil Ball's got to be careful, as has Toys and Stanley. Whether anyone's going to go across that way, Toys, if anything, might go around the wide side of the Wraith, which is where he's heading right now. He's got to be careful he doesn't walk around that Wraith side. Got to be careful. NaJin Sword, luckily, backed away. Are they going to steal away the red? I assume they will do. Nobody's even going looking towards it, and that red is going to be taken away. Taipei Assassins are completely unaware. Now they will spot it. I think we just saw, yeah, Mistake just comes around. He's going to be aware, puts the ward down in there, and he's just going to clear out those small lizards, and that means that's going to be a clean invade. NaJin Sword.
Still a clean invade, but I have to say TPA dodged a bit of a bolt there. Don't know exactly what tipped them off. It was an educated guess that they thought they were invading their red, because they had 2 forward wards in NaJin Sword's red jungle. And the fact that you would start Wraiths and then not go to red just shows to me you were expecting some kind of a counter gank. They went very luckily just back to the blue, and they saved Lil Balls' life in a lot of ways.
So lanes are starting to set themselves up, and it's going to be standard laning out here. So let's check them out straight away. McNoon versus Stanley in that top lane. Jace versus Aurelia.
I have to say, early on, Jace just takes the cake. McNoon needs to get ahead a little bit, and he needs to stack armor early on. Jace trying to harass him with those shock blasts. Also, the E does magic damage, so it is a little bit shaky, but when we've seen success...
Prey's going to get taken down very low immediately down the bottom. Then the exhaust comes out. Kane had to use that exhaust to save his AD carry at level 1.
Very aggressive play by both bottom laners early, and that's the all-in nature of Nunu. But back top, when we've seen success by Relies against Jace, it's because they're getting early Phage, early Ninja Tabby.
Yeah, so
Lil Balls with some creative steal there gets the red buff away from Watch. So they stole his red, but he stole theirs. Overall, they're even.
Even Steven, I guess you could say. Let's have a look in that mid lane now. You can see Song versus Toys. Toys on the Orianna. Definitely going to have a massive range advantage over Song. And how would you rate this one? I mean, actually, let's look back down towards the bottom. Prey again getting caught out there. BB being very aggressive down that bottom lane. Mistake keeping them back. They're going to put a bit of damage on the backside of Mistake there. Not as much as they wanted, though. Prey getting blocked off by one of the minions there with his Q shot.
So this bottom lane is actually going to be extremely aggressive. You pick Tarek to win the lane, and you pick Nunu for the late game, but he's also good at stopping people from all-inning you. So if BB and Mistake get at all ahead in this lane, they're really just going to take it on top of Ezreal. The Nunu cog is just known for its absurd damage output, and when they pick it, it has to get shut down early. Otherwise, when the later game comes around and they have the Mundo frontline with the Jace Orianna poke, it would be a disaster for NaJin Sword. So these laning phase is something they actually have to come out very strong and just jump on top of TPA early.
We are seeing Lil Balls at the top at the moment. They're going very aggressive. Is he going to go for McNoon? Are they going to try and shut him down early? I think they're going to. Yeah, it would be a mistake to. Instead, we are seeing pings down the bottom, and you can see immediately Watch is going to try and sneak Ninja his way in, but he's going to walk straight over a ward. That's going to give his position away to Taipei Assassins. They're going to be well aware of that. Instead, we're going to see the mid lane. It looks like Lil Balls is going to come around the backside of Song. Should be able to catch the cleaver. Yes, he does. TPA Assassin's going to try and go for this one. Not going to happen. Instead, they have to flash away. Force the flash, though. It's always a bonus. Down the bottom lane, they are going to dive in towards Mistake. They do get the dazzle down, but they do not have the aggression. And watch, well, they knew he was there, so it was already pretty much predicted.
Ended up just trading the flashes.
Mid lane, Song is going to get caught here. First person's going to come in. It is going to be Toys that picks it up. Lil Balls, though, with the Ignite. He hasn't got the shield on him. Will survive it, though. His innate health will help him out.
So the first successful gank comes down for TPA, and that was the repeat of the first one. You burn the flash with the first, and then you just come right straight around for the second. Song did not expect the back-to-back gank. That is such a common thing. You don't think a jungler is going to stick around, but we've seen a bunch of super long lane camps in this tournament. Up top lane, we have MacNoon versus Stanley. I have to say, MacNoon has done a tremendous job early at not getting out-harassed by Jace, and aside from this, keeping the tower, the minions near his tower. So very,
Ignite
very
in
strong
onto
play.
Stanley. Stanley taken down very low. I think the Ignite should not take him down. He's got that health tick going on there, and that was a very vicious exchange between TPA Assassin, Stanley, and MacNoon. MacNoon's going to back off. Stanley is going to stick around, though, so he's just going to make sure he clears off that wave and then backs. Let's see what... Actually, MacNoon has cancelled his back. He's just wondering, is Stanley going to stick around? In which case, he's definitely going to dive on him.
There's a lot of mind game going on in this lane right now, because you just assume when someone shoves your tower like that they are going back. He actually just goes and shows, and he's trying to scare Stanley back a bit here, because Stanley's now shoved, so the lane will eventually come to MacNoon. He doesn't want to actually back here, so he's just going to try to pick up as many minions as possible. Also, how much gold does he have? 1,100. I'm wondering what breakpoint he's waiting to buy on, because he's definitely farming up for something. No, he's just going to shove it into the tower and go back. That's smart.
Little Ball's getting spotted down that bottom lane as well. Walk straight across the ward. MacNoon is going to back. I'm going to put the pressure on the turret. And Prey just putting that Mystic shot in Little Ball's face and saying, yeah, we know you're there. Just go away. Leave us to farm in this bottom lane. We are seeing pings on watch. And again, all about the ward coverage at the moment. TPA Assassins and NaJin Sword have really good coverage. They are spotting those junglers early, and they're avoiding the ganks. Just still that one first kill on Song, which is why they want to return the favor on Toys. Toys with a target on his head right now. Not too sure whether we're going to see Song going aggressive, and Watch is going to follow it up. Instead, he's just going to back away to his race. All spooked up by Lil Balls, and everyone goes back to farming. Have a look at these lanes, though. This bottom lane, how would you judge it? I mean, normally Cogmore is going to be the passive one that's going to sit and farm for a while, get himself up to 6, and just start poking a little bit. Prey has been forced back quite heavily here, though.
And we're looking at a lot of this. The new Cog we know is only going to get stronger, so the fact that they're winning the early lane against such an aggressive man like Tarek is boding extremely well. And on top of this, Watch spent a substantial amount of time in the bottom lane trying to disrupt. This is TPA's bottom lane, BB and Mistake coming out really, really strong early with that combo.
Yeah, and it's about a 10 CS advantage as well. Across the board, I guess you could say Orianna ahead against Rise in that mid lane.
Toys is actually invading blue buff by himself a little bit. He's going to try to steal because they have the ward.
He should be able to get in to get the steal. Gets the distance, abuses his ulti, manages to get it. No, he just about missed it. Didn't quite pull it. The ultimate went out there. Just his own blue buff. Well, it was a good try, but that means his ulti is down. Let's keep our eye on that one. Top lane, again, Stanley getting poked on by MacNoon. It is very even between these two again, but Stanley pushed on towards the turret once again. He's going to try and pick up as much farm as he can. He's got to be careful that MacNoon doesn't dive. I still don't think he's got the hit points to be able to do that. Stanley being very cautious here.
I have to say, of all the lanes for NaJin Sword, they're actually losing this game aside from MacNoon. That top lane Aurelia, even though he's only 9 minions ahead, the fact that he's against such a beast like Jace is just showing he's playing extremely well. Everyone else is losing. He really has to carry his team a bit or hope the rest of them can turn it around. Because even yesterday, MacNoon is usually on an island. He tends to kind of do things and make plays on his own, and then the other part of the team is their own separate group, and they're just trading damage back and forth. Stanley doing a similar skill order from yesterday that MacNoon was doing with more points in E instead of Q, instead of leveling them evenly like MacNoon was on Jace.
So we just saw Lil Balls. He tried to come up. He did get spotted in that ward in the river. However, we do see Watch managing to sneak his way through. You can see MacNoon's going to push the wave, see if he can get in there, but as you see, Stanley already gone back, so that's going to be irrelevant. Ward placement's coming out in the Dragon. So everybody's starting to cover that one off. 9 minutes gone in this game. Still just that one kill so far. Toys on Song with the help of Lil Balls. And that top lane now, MacNoon actually putting a fair bit of chunk of damage down, and it's stripping half the health off that turret already. Going to try and push the pressure and maybe open up the game a little bit.
He's going for a very early tower. He does realize his team is behind a little bit. If he wants to kick the other 4 off to do their thing while he stays isolated, getting them that global gold would be his best contribution to the team. Overall, though, we see about a 600 gold lead, but TPA, nice steal on the Wraiths there. Oh, there's the flash ult!
There's the flash ult. Watch is going to try and pull him in towards the tower. The prism, it wasn't quite enough, and that's going to be Toys using his ulti. Here comes Lil Balls on towards Watch. He's just covering off, really, and Toys is going to back away from that one. He's got McNoon coming down the river, immediately reacting to that one, as well as being followed down the bottom lane there. You can see Mistakes in a pop absolute zero. Can they take Kane down? Bibby is going to be all over him. He should be able to finish him off. The ultimate coming across. Prey's going to take on towards Bibby. Now he can try and take down Mistake as well. Mistake's got to be careful he doesn't get caught out by this one. Lil Balls had travelled down to that bottom lane along with Toys, but it wasn't to be, and that was an even exchange in that bottom lane. Well, say even. It's an AD carry for a support. That is not even.
That does come out.
Top lane though, McNoon's also getting dived on.
So much aggression.
Is all over him. He's just going to force him backwards. So let's have a look back at that bottom lane. I mean, how do you rate that one? Obviously, Bibby going down is a big thing.
I think that's an unfortunate pickup of kills, and there's 3 members coming up top. He's going to see Rise in a ward. He does have his flash up. I think he can escape this one.
Yeah, he manages to flash through. He gets stunned up. Can Song get in there? Song hasn't got a flash available, I don't think. He manages to knock Watch back. There's the flash. Oh. There's the kill by Song. Just zips in time and gets the Rune Prism and the last blast. Very nicely played.
McNoon enabling that. His health was lower, so his Equilibrium strike got the stun, and that allowed everyone else to catch up. Stanley not quite able. And with that, even though it was just an assist, it's a lot of experience that Stanley's going to lose, and it's allowing McNoon to pull ahead in that lane. Whether he can punish him now with that slight edge, since they are such great teams, like such great matchup up top, that's going to be big for NaJin Sword and coming back in this game. Gold dead even now.
So after 10 minutes, things start to liven up here. 2-2. Say gold very much even. That top turret has been pushed to within about 112 hit points, so that's going to go down on the next major push from McNoon. And BB returning to the lane. Gone for that Vampiric Scepter, and he's going to go towards the Zeal down that bottom lane, actually putting the aggression down on Prey. And Prey just forced back there, just a little bit. This bottom lane is definitely an intriguing one. 84 CS to 83, that has turned things around. The fact that BB got taken down, they were at about 10 to 15 CS advantage in that bottom lane. Prey's definitely dragged it back just off the back of that one kill.
Only 100 gold difference between BB and Prey though. And if you do think about the late game, it is that Kog'Maw. What is NaJin Sword going to do to be able to assassinate him? It's going to be about McNoon trying to jump on Kog'Maw, and it's very difficult. Aurelia is a bit about attack speed, and if Mistake is there with the Nunu, the Ice Blast slows attack speed. It's going to be difficult just in general for them to get things. Wow. BB doing a great job farming that lane with Mistake.
That is a pretty quick Athena's Unholy Grail, if I'm not mistaken. That's been picked up. In that middle, Toys picking that up straight away. McNoon getting a little poke on him there. Has gone straight for that rather than any of the boots. The level 1 boots, so he's gone immediate Athena's Unholy Grail on Toys has.
He really loves getting that on him very early, and that shows he's not necessarily looking to kill because he's not worried about the magic penetration of the Sorcerer's Shoes. He has about 500 more gold than his adversary mid lane Rise on Song. He's stolen Song's Wraiths actually multiple times, so Toys, as well as the bottom lane, doing a really good job just outlaning NaJin Sword. NaJin Sword has to take something together with coordination, aggression, team fights, and dives.
Yeah, interestingly enough, McNoon being given the golems there by Watch. He's helping out. Watch just hanging around in that bush with that Oracle on. Just hoping that Stanley's going to poke himself a little bit forward. Instead, he's just going to quite happily sit back. He's not falling for these tricks. He's well aware he's got no vision of the top or bottom area of that lane.
And look at this. Stanley actually went triple Doran's Blade, so he knew he was a little bit behind McNoon in farm, and McNoon has his Fade instead of that third Doran's, but he just went that because he does not want to give McNoon an edge that he can capitalize off of. He wants to stay even with him, so he went with the early efficient items just so he doesn't get snowballed on by McNoon.
Okay, so the blue steel is definitely going to be a to be wrestling with. You can see for Little Balls and Toys, they've moved away and they've put the ward down, but Watch is taking down that ward that they've just put in there. Now they have it covered off, and the rest of the team are collapsing in around this one. This could be a 4v4 here, right here. Toys in there with his attack dissonance. Little Balls coming in. They're going to try and get the steal. The smite steal is almost certainly going to have to be used. Instead, they're going to stun on towards Little Balls. There's the Orianna ultimate. There's going to be the absolute zero following up. Little Balls is taken down by Song. Song's going to get dropped immediately on the back of that one. They're going to turn their attention to Kane. Kane should go down on the back of this one. Yes, he will. It was a double kill for Toys, as expected. Meanwhile, the top turret did go down in amongst all that. And you can see McNoon has taken the first one, but Dragon could be picked up off the back of this one, so very much even exchange, even gold right now, but this Dragon will turn things in favor of TPA Assassins.
And that was a very sneakily executed fight by Taipei Assassins. They tricked NaJin Sword into thinking they caught Lil Balls out of position and Toys beyond the fight, but he could reach over and got that perfect Orianna off onto the entire NaJin Sword team. That's what really turned it. He then flashed over, they all followed up, and that 2-for-1 with the blue steel is pretty big.
Pretty big indeed, and it was Bibi that helped out there. He picked up 3 assists, and it's 3-0 for Toys now. Obviously, like I mentioned, he picked up that theme. Now he got the Sorcerer's Shoes along the top of that one, as well as a blasting one. Now McNoon in towards the middle. It's actually McNoon versus Bibi in the mid lane at the moment, because that top lane turret has gone down. In terms of turrets, really the top was completely untouched by Stanley. Mid lane, about half for Toys at the moment. Toys definitely been the aggressor in this mid lane. 140 CS to 107, so that's a pretty big difference already in terms of damage-wise there. BF Sword being picked up by Ezreal. Meanwhile, obviously the Zeal, there's the ultimate on Song in the mid lane. The Song's going to get caught out here. Has not quite got the ignite down bar, but the attack will come in, and that is now a 4-0 Toys. And Toys is very, very strong, and proving why Orianna's been banned quite a few times in this tournament.
Look at that, 4-0 just soloing Song. Even though Lil Balls would have been there to support, he is really scary and is going to be a huge problem for NaJin as this comes up. He got the first gank onto Rise, and it's been able to snowball off of that. After that, he's taken many raids. They've tried to turn ganks around on him, but he's been able to escape here.
Frey's getting dived on really bottom lane. Bit of damage done from Bibi there. Bibi, I should say. He's getting poke on. He has got that blue buff, of course, off the back of that fight earlier on. In fact, he's going to poke in. He is double buffed at the moment. Actually, to tell a lie, that's the Blood Boil from Mistake, which is going to be a huge, huge advantage. This is why that lane was always so strong. The Blood Boil from Nunu.
So Lil Balls actually just got seen by a ward. He thinks he walked into this brush undetected, so NaJin Sword has an advantage here. They're going to be able to pull in 4 people if a fight does call, and they'll be able to turn it with Rise.
There's 4. You can see Song's heading his way down that river immediately. They're going to try and catch on towards Watch there. Watch is going to pull Lil Balls in towards the bush. Not the ideal person. The absolute zero is going to go off. Can they manage to escape the damage here? Song's going to join in. Mistake might get caught out. Last person they wanted though, and I think they've avoided all the damage. Now you can see Orianna's coming down. They've got to be careful. Toys could put a lot of damage down. Stanley's going to join the fight as well. They're going to catch on towards Song. Stanley's just going to back up from this one. A wise call from Taipei Assassins to avoid the damage there. McNoon was coming in the backside.
All 10 members were about to converge there, and it's crazy that there was such a huge fight, but no one died. Everyone traded damage very well and was able to disengage after they'd taken nearly all their life. Close counter gank. Overall, the 2 turrets down overall in the game. Mid lane for NaJin Sword, top lane for Taipei Assassins, and the 1 Dragon really providing a lot of the advantage for Taipei thus far. I have to say McNoon has the upper hand on Stanley thus far, but the rest of TPA has the upper hand on NaJin Sword.
You say that, but McNoon has been left. He's trying to roam as much as he can, but Stanley was farming out free on that bottom lane, sticking around. Actually, Stanley's going to go up the top. He's going to have to react to McNoon. McNoon is going to go back to farm, but Toys has such a huge advantage right now in that mid lane. Song has picked up 2 kills, but yet to complete an item. Obviously went for the Catalyst and Tear of the Goddess early on, but Toys with that themes sat on, what, 1,300 gold right now, 1,400 gold. So he's looking towards buying another major item.
Just saving up for that needlessly large rod. Most likely going for Death Cap later. He's looking for just the huge nukes. So many people on that team, especially Lil Balls, or even Jace, will be diving into that fight, and his ultimates so far have been very clutch. All the Oriannas we've seen successfully have just been destroying with an ultimate. Everyone, it seems, who's really good at Orianna draws bans, and it looks like they actually didn't realize Toys was one of those players, which is why he's been allowed at this game.
Yeah, you'll probably see that one banned out in the next match. We are seeing a gathering from NaJin Sword here around the Dragon area. We are 18 minutes gone. Just taking a peek down this bottom lane. Bibi has already picked up his Phantom Dancer. We've got a Bloodthirst to come out on Ezreal, and it's an interesting way. We saw Prey building a Bloodthirst yesterday. Trinity Force is often picked up. I mean, what do you think the reasoning behind the choices between these two?
Normally, Trinity Force is the item of choice for Ezreal, but with a Bloodthirster, it's because you're looking to just over-sustain in lane, especially when Kog'Maw had that blue buff. The range poke was so threatening that if he was low, he would have gotten all in by Nunu fairly frequently. And if he wants to get aggressive with Taric, he needs to be at full health before those exchanges. The Bloodthirster is a lane sustained choice. He's still going to probably go for Trinity Force later, but he's not looking to snowball the mid game super hard. He's looking to just farm out on the lane.
So Taipei Assassins again go for that blue buff. They're putting the pressure on. They put the ward in there this time. Lil Balls is going to try and clear out any ward. Spots the ward just off the back of that one, but immediately they're going to put the damage down, and that was a very quick blue buff to steal from Taipei Assassins. They are fully grouped up. Dragon spawned on the back of that one, so it's going to be another minute away yet. Bibi is going to continue pushing. I think Taipei might even put the pressure on, try and pick up their first turret of the game down the bottom here, second turret of the game, sorry. They've already taken the mid lane one. Ezreal Ultimate's going to try and keep them back. They've got to be careful. You can see Watch is just lingering in that tri-bush, as well as Song. The ping's going across the board, and they're actually saying, no, we're going to back off, return to lanes, guys.
Just gotta say, that was a crazy amount of coordination by TPA. The fact that they took that down so fast and still got the blue buff onto the right target was really impressive. They got it onto Kog'Maw since they already had a blue buff onto Toys. And I'm a little bit surprised that Stanley's going top lane here, just because with that Dragon coming up soon, they're going to look to control it. Even though when Macno matched with Irelia, they could have a 4v4. If they want to just go all in with this, they should be able to. Another thing here, Lilbaw's with the double Thorn Shield on Dr. Mundo. That's something we saw Hotshot do earlier in the tournament as well. That's a really good choice, not only for the health, but for the health regen, because Mundo spends so much natural health in the jungle clearing.
Oh, the bottom lane, they're waiting in out on Prey there. They're going to try and get the gank here, but they didn't realize that Watch was waiting in there as well. Couldn't get the hook, flashed in, didn't get the ultimate off, and a mistake. Popping the absolute zero just briefly in there, forced them away. That was a cheeky little gank from Prey there.
Here they have all five down towards Dragon. Irelia and Macnoon is coming down. The majority of ultimates are down, though. They use Flash Cleanse on BB, and the Nunu ult is down. So if the big fight goes off, they'll have to zone with Orianna Ball, not Nunu ult.
The absolute zero was used. Watch does have his ulti available if he wants to try and get in and hook on someone. They tried to steal it off, but it's not going to happen. Orianna Ball comes back in. Dissonance manages to finish it off. Taipei Assassins pick up the second Dragon of the game, extending their gold lead. It is the 4,000 gold now, and we saw Taipei Assassins yesterday. The predictions came out. I was asking some of the players. Everybody said NaJin Sword. They said Taipei Assassins, yes, they're very good, but NaJin Sword definitely will take it. The question is, at the moment, are NaJin Sword going to feel that pressure of falling behind, because they are really looking like they're sliding out of this game from the two lanes they're losing.
And how secretive has TPA kept their practice and rehearsal? Maybe all those custom games made people underestimate them if they have been beating teams in scrims, or if they've been having secret scrim opponents, because they are coming out looking stronger than the fans thought they would, and also NaJin Sword did. And even in that interview previously, they actually said they wanted NaJin Sword to be drawn against them, so they see something in this matchup they think they can take advantage of, and thus far they're showing it off.
Absolutely. Rabadon's death cap being picked up there by Toys. Toys now incredibly strong. Been landing that ball very well. 382 ability power. Little Balls is just going to cause himself more and more problems. He's just going to get in there, cause any trouble he can. And it's looking like they're going to try and head south. This bottom turret is very low. The pings have gone down. They realize they're going down now. I think Prey and Kate are going to have to give this one up. Bibi is going to continue pressuring on that bottom lane. They have got Stanley joining them. There goes the bottom turret. Can they follow it through? We are seeing NaJin Sword backing away from this one. They're not going to 5-man stack and push it. Instead, Toys is just going to return back to mid lane.
So Toys is 2,500 gold above of his lane opponent's Song. Most of that gold advantage, you add that in, there's only 2,000 gold through the rest of the teams that are ahead, so over half their advantage are just channeled onto one champion, and that is Toys' Orianna. Really, Rise is in a lot of trouble. The tower's down, the bottom tower's down. They're probably going to look to go top. Now's the time where they want to group around. They want to start pushing this advantage, because they do have a pretty big one right now. On top of this, though, it's really going to be on NaJin Sword, catch them off guard, because that Nunu Cog, even the Orianna Mundo, just so many good late-game zoning choices. NaJin really has to turn it up here if they want to turn something around, because this is looking really grim.
Yeah, Taipei Assassin's starting to group up, and of course they're just going to throw that ball on towards Little Balls. He's just going to stall on in there with the ultimate running. Just say, attack me or die. As it is at the moment, NaJin Sword are definitely in trouble. Ezreal's been left to farm down that bottom lane. Prey's trying to catch up, trying to do anything they can, but unfortunately for him, Kog'Maw is matching him pace for pace, and as you said, will just get stronger as the game goes on. Stanley continuing to slowly but surely catch back up. He's now at the stage where, honestly, the Trinity Force that is on Macnoon, Macnoon's not quite able to stretch his legs like we've seen against previous opponents. You know, he can just go around, really bully them. Hasn't been able to do it in this game because Stanley's kept him fairly honest in that top lane, despite the fact Stanley kind of lost out the lane. Macnoon really hasn't been able to leave it. Looking like Nullballs is going to try collapse on Macnoon. Macnoon realizing that and has to back away. The rest of NaJin Sword now going to try and collapse in on this middle lane. They're going to come around from the Wolves though, but Taipei Assassin's very much ready for this one. And you can see just off the side there, Little Balls is very much ready. He's going to go straight in, puts the cleaver across. There's the ultimate. Whoa. Straight across, ripping the pull in there. Little Balls actually getting caught, taking a lot of the damage. Macnoon is going to get dropped by Stanley straight away on the backside. They're going to dive in. That's going to be another kill on Phoebe. taking him straight down. Mistake gets watched as well, and they had to flash away from this one. This should surely be a turret on the back of this one. But well, Taipei Assassins were very much ready for that. They're going to go for Baron. They're going for Baron.
And that fight was really just everyone keying on McNoon except for Toys. Toys just handled 3 members of NaJin Sword with 1 Orianna ult and allowed them to split that team fight up and just take it one at a time. This is going to be an uncontested Baron and a stranglehold on the game for Taipei Assassins once they get this down.
Taipei Assassins opening up the account here. Their very first match of Season 2 Regionals. We saw Moscow 5 for an impressive performance already against Invictus Gaming. And Taipei Assassins proving why they also belong as one of those Tier 1 seeds into this tournament. You know, there was a lot of talk about the fact that Azubu Frost did get made into those group stages, but they went 3-0 in that group. They tried to prove it. And Taipei Assassins may be feeling a little bit of pressure off the back of that and say, no, we deserve a place here. We're going to have a quick replay and we're going to get the player audio and just see how that went from Taipei Assassin's point of view. Yeah, that's how I'd be cheering. I've got to be honest, if I'd have just pulled that off, I'd be like, yes!
If you just destroyed McNoon and NaJin Sword in a team fight, which you knew you were going to be taking Baron off of. And this is getting even more scary for NaJin. Kog'Maw does not even have his Infinity Edge yet, and that's when his damage is really going to just multiply. You get the Infinity Edge of Phantom Dancer, it's pretty much double your damage as soon as you complete that item on top of the Nunu. And now that they have the Jace poke from Stanley,
they're going to fight the Orianna. Ultimate pops across. Toys drops Prey down before he had a chance to react to that one. He gets a second. Song's going to get dropped as well. That's going to be Kog'Maw picking it up, but Watch is going to get stripped down. A double kill, and that's going to be the dunk at the end with a triple kill for Bebe. An unbelievable play. They just managed to catch the Orianna ultimate again and again. Toys is just shredding them apart. That's going to be the turret. They could easily take the inhibitor off the back of this one. Honestly, GG's given. That is going to be Taipei Assassins taking game 1 against NaJin Sword. Nobody gave them credit for it, but they have proved they deserve to be here right now.
And we talked so much about yesterday, NaJin Sword, their coordination, their quickness in team fights, how they would get into fights before the other team was ready for them to start. That's what Taipei Assassins just did to them. They were even faster. Their initiation was instantaneous, and they finished it in style.
Absolutely fantastic play. Toys went 6-0-5 there, and undoubtedly his ultimates caused every bit of problem for NaJin Sword.
Toys absolute MVP, but honestly, the mark of a good top laner sometimes is when you fall back in lane, not letting it turn into a disaster. He did not require help against McNoon. They could focus on winning the rest of the map, and boy, did they ever.
Did they ever. Taipei Assassins now 1-0 up. NaJin Sword, well, we're used to seeing them as the aggressors, but honestly, Taipei Assassins turned it on to them. McNoon kept quiet in that game by Stanley.
He did a great job winning the lane, but